But I have a question. I do have a question. This one's first. I'm going to put Stacy on the spot here a little bit. But before we have that question, can I just get a social, please? People on the West Coast, talking to people on the East Coast. You guys haven't taken a sip of that cup. I don't know what's in there, but I hope it's something good.
Nailed it.
All right, I needed that. Sorry, guys.
Is that Dayquil again?
That was a good. No, it's not Dayquil this time. Just straight, yeah, whatever that is. So, my question, Stacy. I've known you for quite a while. You've worked with companies that we're still working with in the asphalt industry. You've run labs, done a lot of research in the asphalt industry. Let me get your perspective. You've been on the other side of us, right? When we've been trying to offer equipment. You might have even bought equipment from us in the past. And you know, what was some of the lessons what were some of the things, highlights from people that did it right in customer service and people that did it maybe not so right? I won't say wrong, because you know everybody has their kind of view, but you know, maybe they didn't meet that level of customer service you expected. Give me some of your thoughts on that and what you experienced, you know, being on the other side.
From your company and your competitors, and definitely have had a lot of different experiences. Some great, some not so great. I think one of my favorite was actually the core lock. So I probably had that piece of equipment before anybody else did. I was fortunate to work in a lab that, you know, they worked with Ali on his new inventions, and so we had that in the lab, and I got to use it, and I got to do the research on understanding how it impacted the industry. And so that was a really cool experience to be able to work with a company that was trying to make things better, because we could actually do a better job with the core lock than we could with our other method. So that was a really cool experience to be able to be part of that. Definitely had some experiences where I think probably the most challenging ones were when people maybe treated me like I didn't know what I was doing. It wasn't the equipment, it was me. And that was really challenging. So I think that's one thing I really took away from it, is just treating your customers as equals. They're in the field, they're doing the work, they get it, and you know the equipment. And so even if you think you know more than them, or you know more than them, just let it slide. And I think that's really a huge part, you know, in managing your customer expectations. So you have to make sure that they understand how much time you really have available for them. You know, when you talk about your customer service and what your customer expectations are, just be upfront with them about how much time you have available for servicing them. When you brought this up, Maurice, if you're in the field and your piece of equipment breaks down, that's an emergency. If you have, you know, mix that you need to pave and you can't test it, that's a big problem. And so you really need to be realistic about how quickly you can get there and service the equipment. Be realistic about how much backup equipment a customer should have. I think that's essential when you're selling somebody a piece of equipment, saying, hey, we know our equipment's gonna always run, never gonna break down. That's just not realistic. So just be honest with the customers. Here's our downtime expectation. Here's the backup equipment you need. And I think I've had some really, really great experience. I think the first time I met Maurice, we were in Jackson Hole. And so it's been a great ride. I love being on this side. I really think we have great software. I know we have great software because I used it. And so getting to help other people elevate their QC to the level that LASTRADA can get you to has just been a great experience, and I've really, really enjoyed being part of this team and getting to learn how to do sales and talking to people, and it's just been great.
You're what we call the golden nugget, because you actually have the experience of using it, and I think that makes you terribly dangerous when you're out there with sales, because you know, like you said, you have empathy for who you're selling the customer. You know what they've been through. You know when that mix fails in the field, how, you know, the alarms go off, and they're scrambling to see, okay, what do we need to change in the lab to make sure this passes, or we get to density, or you know, any of the other 100 problems that people in the lab or people in the field need to face on a daily, you know? And I think you bringing that experience with you and say, hey, listen, I was there. I had to deal with this stuff, and this is how this software helped me, or that's how this piece of equipment helped me. It's a very awesome position to be in, which unfortunately I've never been on that side. I do have that missing, but I've been in enough labs, I've talked to enough lab managers, and I know the industry well enough to to understand what they go through. And I always say there's no place for arrogance in customer service. You don't want to go in like I'm a know-it-all, I know everything, because you don't. Guess what? You don't know how far. How hard their job is, or you've never walked their mile in their shoes. So you have to stay humble and have some empathy and understand the problem and try to resolve it as quickly as possible, and with a sense of urgency, right? I think that's a big part of it. And I think we do a pretty good job. And I know we harp on that a lot.
Well, I think one of the things that you just said, Stacy, that resonated with me is, how much I learned from not just you and just anybody that was in your position when I started in the sales world of selling equipment, and I knew nothing about standards, specification, any of that, and it takes people like you that'll kind of take a green salesperson under their wing, if we're willing to listen and say, hey, this is our needs, this is what we need, and it's that kind of stuff has helped me grow. And I think it's important to realize from our side that those relationships can really help both sides if you're just kind of willing to get in the trenches and learn, which has been an awesome experience. So that perspective that you gave is just gold.
So Stacy, when can I send you a check for training Anthony? What's your address? Let me go ahead and get you your payment coming.
One thing you said, very sense of urgency, and I think Miguel really gets that from our customers, that when they have a real problem that they need solved immediately, Miguel's the person they call. So I'd like to get his perspective on how he manages that and manages his time to make sure that he's servicing the customer or helping our customers solve their problems as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, so everybody calls me. I'm kind of like the 9/11 guy, so like emergency, all right, that's all me, But there's a reason why we're named LASTRADA Partners, because we're always a partner in the industry. And every time we train new clients, new personnel, anybody here, we always want to make sure we have all the available resources that we need in order to make that individual capable of using the software to this max potential. So a lot of the things that we offer, and we offer this all throughout, is procedures. Being able to have procedures ready for them to get the client up and running. So if you have procedures and also a video that comes along with it, because everybody loves to be, a visual person too, helps a lot. It goes a long way. And then there's just so many resources that we have available online. So a lot of those come into play whenever they have questions or about. Always reach out and make a connection with those procedures and these resources that we have available online. Along with that, a simple phone call always helps, and also just a quick chat, video call, like we talked about, how the things we learned from COVID, right? So making sure we have all these resources available and everything we have all around us, and not just myself, but also with Dan and Stacy. They also are the ones teaching me almost new things every day, being something like new to the industry. But other than that, like, always be there on top of it, because we want to make sure we get their questions and solve the problems right away.
Miguel, that's a great answer. There's a little podcast called The Hot Mix. If you haven't joined, maybe you can join. We teach a lot on that podcast. So just a little
shameless
plug over here. But just saying, we understand. And I think, Miguel, you hit on something that I just like to comment on real quick. Is it's good to have your customers know that there's a whole company behind you, right? That it's just not you. That you can bring in different resources. We do that a lot here, where if a customer's having a problem, and like Stacy correctly said, we're not perfect, nor do we, say we are. We have our failures, and maybe we didn't calibrate it just right, or something happened. But when that happens, it's important how you actually address the situation, right? Mm-hmm. So we usually pull in resources from different areas that we have access to: our engineering team, our services team, our field services team. And that's what makes a good company. When you're not just dealing with some island or person that's an island that he's going to have to struggle to help you. But when you have the backing of the people at your company, and you can say, hey, we have a customer, here's the situation, how can we address this for them as quickly as possible with that sense of urgency? And that really highlights great customer service in my point of view, when there's other people involved. So I just want to make that point.
Yeah, I had just one kind of follow-up question on all of this, because I just think it's important, and I'd like to hear the perspective. Do you think that there's anything that vendors, manufacturers, anybody on that side can do better in the communication process from the start of the sale throughout all the way to the delivery and then the implementation?
Yeah, and there's one thing that comes up a lot for me, or that used to come up, and even actually now with us, a lot of times, we're coming in as the new technology, the shiny thing, the better whatever. So, we may have a manager or somebody saying, hey, I want to do this LASTRADA thing because we're going to be able to do that. And a lot of times people will diminish the experience that the company had getting to where they are. So just because they're buying a new piece of equipment to get better doesn't mean everything they did was trash. So really you need to respect what they were doing in the past and build on it. They didn't get to where they are by making mistakes. So acknowledge what they were doing and build on what they're doing. Don't just come in with like, hey, this is better, so this is what you're going to do. And I think that's really important, is to make sure that you acknowledge what was working as much as you come in with the solution to fix things that could be improved.
That's a great piece of advice. It really is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think customers will appreciate that, and getting to that next level sometimes requires different tools, but doesn't mean what you used in the past is completely obsolete. I'm sure there's a lot of good there as well that you can help them with. So that's a great point. Yeah, Dan.
No, it's a great perspective. Thank you. I feel like the thing I've noticed most here today about everybody is that we're all passionate about what we do, right? So I think that being able to provide our, kind of show our passion and provide that service is definitely apparent with the panels here today, which is why this is such a great episode and fit. So, awesome job.
So I really want to know, I'm excited to be able to be here with you two today, and I've learned a lot from you already, but you've been in sales a lot longer than I have, and you talk about customer service, and I've worked with Instatrack in the past in different roles, and they do have great customer service, and they do put their best foot forward in the circumstances where I've had the privilege of working with them. I'm curious, what's your philosophy around customer service?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's not one that gets asked often, because we do, talk about it internally, but outside of Instratech, we look for it, right? And I look for it in my personal life. I look for it whenever I'm calling, Delta Airlines. I'm trying to see, hey, what are they doing to do it right? And some companies miss completely, and some companies do really well. But we have, you can talk about customer service from the service factor, just being of service, wanting to help the customer. And I think we laid it out earlier in the podcast, having that sense of urgency and, empathy for the customer and really wanting to solve their problem. You could talk about your attitude. Having a good attitude goes such a long way. You answer that phone with a smile, guess what? They might smile back, and that sets up a good conversation. So always having the right attitude, and then always having a good team and being able to rely on that team. All points we've covered in this podcast so far, and one of the ones that I think gets missed a lot is being consistent. It's not glamorous. It's not very showy. It's something that happens internally, saying, hey, we're gonna hold ourselves to the standard, and we do not go below that standard for any reason. We're always going to help our customers, and then doing that consistently. And believe it or not, it's the one that is really very difficult to do. It's probably one of the most difficult ones to do. You often go to maybe your local ice cream shop or maybe a local restaurant, and if they're not giving you that same service you've always gotten, the first thing that pops in your head is like, uh-oh.
What happened?
What's going on? Yeah. Like, what changed? Because I'm not getting... The server doesn't know my name anymore, and maybe the owner isn't coming out. Maybe they're under new ownership. So it's one that you definitely notice when it's not there, but it's so hard to do it consistently. So that's one of the ones that I feel like is incredibly important.
Yeah, I would say just being genuine and wanting to establish a relationship with the customer. I mean, obviously everything is not going to be great all the time. So, but having that relationship and being genuine about it, you can be transparent with your customer. And I think that encapsulates all of the things that Maurice just mentioned, right? Obviously, if you have good attitude, you're willing to serve, and you're consistent about that, you're going to get great results in any sales world, I'd say. But I like the consistency point as well. I think that is the hardest one to do, because setting a high expectation and meeting that expectation each and every time is difficult because we all have lives and we're all going through stuff.
There's COVID.
There's COVID, right? You know, so there's a lot of that. But I think that's a great question, Stacey, and I think that the consistency is probably, and being genuine is probably the most important features.
How about for you guys? What are the highlights of your customer service you guys do at LASTRADA?
Miguel, you're out in front more than anybody else.
Oh, that's true.
That's right. You don't get to sit quietly and look at them all day.
I really say this is more of a personal. I like to say answer for myself. I really like when the client comes to me and it has a problem and being able to solve it right away and have at least, what we like to call a small little patch in there while we work on a longer term solution. For me, that's, a big win. Because knowing if you can solve effectively the problem right away and being really consistent about it too, like you guys mentioned, goes along the way. So making sure that the customer at the end of the meeting or the end of the call understands what their intentions were in the beginning and how these intentions or these issues are going to be solved. So to me, being able to go ahead and provide, again, resources, right? Everything that can be all laid out for him always goes a long way.
I think it's interesting. You talked about you're looking for it everywhere you go now, and you know it when you see it, and you know it when it's not there. But it's executing for yourself that's really difficult. There's a famous gas station chain in the Midwest called Quick Trip that when you at the end of your transaction they say "see you next time," and if they don't, it kind of ruins my day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great hot dogs. Great hot dogs at Quick Trip.
There you go.
Just want to shout out those dogs.
But you highlight that point, Stacey. You highlight that point that consistency is so important because you come to expect it, and when you don't get it, that's when you notice it's not there, and it's sometimes very difficult to do because it encapsulates everything else we talked about. So yeah, no, I agree, and it's good that you guys are show that you do all of those things that make you such a great company and partner to work with for a lot of labs. I've heard it from your clients myself. I know a few of them, and they do say what a great partnership they have with LASTRADA, and I'm sure it has to do with great software, great dev teams,
great podcasters.
Great podcasters, yeah. Great setup for podcasts.
Great everything.
But I think it comes down to the people, right? The people you guys have. Dan, I've known you for a very long time. Same with Stacey and Miguel. We're kind of new, but you guys are great people that are very well known in the industry, and I think you guys do a great job at LASTRADA to really take care of all of these things we talked about today.
Well, thank you for the comments. Obviously, it's reciprocal. Hey, I really appreciate the invitation. I know Miguel, I don't want to speak for both you guys, but I'm sure we all. Thanks again. We really enjoy your podcast. I know we've talked about quite a few episodes already. Good luck to you both. Thanks for everything. And look forward to seeing you at the next customer's office and the next event.
Sounds good, Dan. Yeah, we really appreciate this talk and you bringing up these topics. I think they're incredibly important to any customer, any company in the industry. But it's good to know that there are the companies out there doing it right, or at least striving to do it. Do we get it right every time? No, but we do strive, and I think these are important topics to cover. So it's been a great conversation. We really appreciate you guys talking to us and being on the podcast for sure.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.